Thank you, Josh, and thank you to all our speakers, all who kept the time as well. So that's left some time for questions now at the end. We open up for questions from the floor. We've got some questions online too, but I think it'd be good to kick off with, if anyone has questions about some of the technology that we saw there. We covered a lot of sort of challenges, but also working around the challenges. I think it's really interesting how all three projects we've just heard about have explored different technologies that are available, but also driven them forward to achieve new things. And then there are lots of new possibilities as well. Now that's just a flavor of some of what the Insight program have been working on, but it's a good start. So we've got about 10 minutes now, and take any questions from the floor. If not, we can go online. That's fine. Yes. Gentleman over there in the blue jacket.
Hi, my name is Connor Gilmore. I'm from Heriot Watt. Just a question for Joshua. What sort of weather can your vessel operate in?
Is this? Oh, sorry. So it's a little bit unclear, and the main limitation will be the data quality. So the vessel is actually designed to be self-writing. So essentially, any weather, it should survive. But the limitations on where we'll keep getting good data, because essentially the sensor is on a keel underneath, and it's a sonar. So if there's bad weather and you get lots of bubbles in train, then that'll introduce a lot of noise into the data. So because it's still in development, we haven't done full testing, but we're expecting, because it's on this retractable keel, that in up to sort of sea states 5 or 6, we should still be able to get data, and it should survive way beyond that. Is our hope, anyway.
Thanks.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Question here in the front, please. And if you could announce your name and organization, please.
Hi, Chris Lanham from CFAS here, working on the EcoStar project. So question for John. I'm really interested in the biomass estimates you're getting, from the structures. Seems like early days still, technology is working, but are you getting estimates that you're perhaps comfortable with now for different types of structures that you could, start to share?
Yes, we are. Yeah, I guess we're limited by the footage and the number of structures that we're able to do it for. But yes, we are.
Have you had any chance to analyse the data you're getting back? Do you see differences in different types of structures, or?
Early days for that. Yeah. I guess there are very obvious differences, but I think that the more sort of nuanced ones will come out in the numbers at the end when we kind of put everything together.
Okay, brilliant. We'll have to chat further. Thanks.
This is worth opening up on that. I think one of the challenges is getting footage, right? I mean, if you got more footage, you can widen the scope of that. Might be something to look into, Chris, as well with John. More questions from the floor? Right at the top there's a lady there.
Thank you. I'm Pamela Ernstberger from the Olimur project. It's a European Horizon Europe funded project. And I just wondered if you are still accepting data, probably from wind farms, that our project is focused on demonstrating the benefits of marine multi-use with wind farms along low-trophic aquaculture. So our project's just 1 year, about a year and a half into the after the deployment and into the project. So I just wondered, are you still accepting data for wind farms?
Are you talking about ROV data?
Yes, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Okay,
It's despite having lots, it's been a struggle. So yes.
Okay, and another question: what has been the limitations with the wind farms at your end? I don't know.
In many ways, actually, so I've been kind of leading the trying to get data element. We've actually found that wind farms have been a bit more forthcoming with the ROV data, but they don't seem to do ROV inspections as often as oil and gas do. So whilst they may be forthcoming, the data isn't there as much. But yeah, there hasn't been any. It's often that the ROV data or the wind farms are owned by a consortium of companies, so they have to get a consensus amongst those companies. And then the ROV data might not even be owned by them. It could be owned by the survey company, or it's in their possession, or it's in a desk and no one has any idea where it is. And then we have to go through legal and NDAs and so on. So it's been a very long, drawn-out process. And often you think you're getting close and then it just goes. So, yeah.
That's right. We appreciate that.
Yeah. But any data, yeah, very welcome, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. We'll take a question from online now, and David Santillo from Greenpeace for Dan. Everything working online, Dan? Yeah? Great. David's remarking on the technology, the amazing technology and the results, and despite the limitation of getting close to the structure itself. When you mention eDNA, presumably you would be water sampling as well, and I think he'd like to ask you a question around what sort of water sampling capabilities do you envisage as well in the future?
So yes, you're right, we did not do the eDNA work, but yes, it would. We have an autonomous eDNA sampler at NOC. I think it's commercially available, but it takes water samples as the AEV goes through its mission and stores them in filter units that are in a cartridge, a bit like a Gatling gun, as it goes through the water column. So yes, you could use that to obtain somewhat spatially resolved eDNA samples throughout the quite a long endurance mission using the autonomous system that we've got with Water 7 Long Range.
That's great, Dan. We look forward to seeing how that pans out in future. Another question from the floor, please.
Thanks. It's Paul Fernandez from Heriot-Watt University. It's a question for the John and his team. You mentioned a lot about the sessile organisms that you're estimating, and you also said that sometimes the robotic arm gets in the way. I guess fish get in the way as well. What do you do with those?
Yeah, so it's quite, fortunately, the photometric workflow, often if you have a section that's moving like that, there's ways that you can kind of exclude it from the final model. So we don't actually have to worry too much about them. We just kind of run it through the pipeline and the fish is gone at the end of it. We don't end up with like a fish floating in the air, which would be cool in its own way, I guess. But yeah, fish aren't too much of a problem.
Maybe we could get that data from you, though.
Yeah, there's lots of fish, yeah, big ling and so on, yeah.
Always opportunities there for cross-project collaboration, yeah.
Something we are working on is 4D photogrammetry, which would be able to resolve a fish in 3D, which I'm quite excited about. So perhaps we could work on that with you.
Interesting, yeah. We've got quite a lot of questions online. I think for a lot of those, we'll have to get back to people after the session there. We just take one more question. Just a lady here.
Yes, thank you everyone for your talks. My name is Laura LeBur. I'm formerly with the Smithsonian Marine Station, but my background is in science communication and community engagement. So my question is for Joe and the team. And I sort of wonder, how far are you guys willing to take the community engagement aspect? Because you talked about wanting to develop it further. But like, are you planning on more development, lesson plans, bringing that to schools? Is that part of the discussion or maybe not?
I think we've yet to have that. We've got our immediate goals of going to these science festivals, and we do have, within SAMS, we have our own kind of STEM outreach, so I think we'll be trying to incorporate the VR with what they do, certainly. Personally, I found the whole experience really quite exciting, so I'd quite like to see where it goes in terms of developing the VR. So, yeah, I guess watch this space, but nothing concrete as yet, yeah.
Thank you. I think I'm going to draw that to a close now. We're coming into our break time now. So if we could thank all of our speakers again.